Welcome to KratosBI. My name is Chris Widener. We're going end to end. We are building out your Fabric environment from a SQL Server on-prem database out into a full Fabric environment. We're going to show you all the steps. You're going to stay with me live as I build this out right with you. All right, so this is going to be a little bit of a longer video. So buckle in, sit down, get ready to take notes, pause, do all that good stuff. If you have questions about any of these things, let's get to it. All right, so we've already done the end-to-end videos. Go check those out. They're the last couple of videos I've done where we've done the end-to-end design. So we created this design. We then went in and we did end-to-end where we defined and put in kind of instructions and best practices around the names that we're going to be using on our pipelines and the things that we're going to be building out, okay? Now we're actually going to build those components, okay? Now let's start with the basics, okay? First thing first is we're going to create the places where data is going to go. So in other words, we're going to create our landed data right here, and then we're going to create the data mart that we're going to be loading our data into. Now remember, a data mart is a concept. It's not a product or feature, right? So there's the thing called a Power BI data mart. We are not going to be choosing that in this case. It's an option. I really prefer, and I'm now recommending everyone start using Fabric Lakehouses or DWs here, okay? So for our landed, it's definitely going to be a lake house. What that allows us to do is it allows us to have any type of data type that we might want land in. So videos, audios, you kind of name it. We can land in there. We can manage it there. In our data mart layer, we may want it to be a warehouse. In this case, though, we're going to build everything off of lake houses because there's some real advantages there, and we'll kind of talk through that as we go, okay? So first things first, let's hop into our landed and create our land data object, okay? So we're gonna copy this name that we've already defined, and we're just gonna go over, and we're gonna be clicking on this new item. I'm gonna zoom in, and I think it's the F4 allows me to. No, 4? No? Okay, I don't know what allows me to do. I just click on new item, and as you can see, right here on the side, I've got all of the items that I could possibly choose from. So I could have a lake house, I could have a warehouse. Here's that data marts, that's preview, or even that event house, okay? And so take a look at that. That event house is where streaming data would go into. We're not gonna use that. We're going to choose between a lake house and warehouse. In this case, all of ours are going to be that lake house. So I'm going to choose lake house. I'm going to paste in the name that I had already defined. I'm going to click on create. All right, so that's going to run. What that's going to do is it's going to create 3 things inside of my environment. It's going to create my my lake house. It's going to create my SQL endpoint, and it's going to create a semantic model that sits on top of my landed data. Now, we're going to be creating an actual semantic model that we're going to be used for the bulk of our analytical reporting. The advantage with the semantic model at the land layer is this is where you can do operational reporting, you can do data quality checking, all of that good stuff. We are going to let that bake because while it's spinning and it's spun up now, we're going to come back to it in just a second after we create the next data mart space. Now, again, we don't want to be doing a ton of these, but this is our simplified build out. So I'm going to select the name, copy, and I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to click on new item again. And I'm going to, once again, I'm going to choose the lake house feature over here. Okay. Now, if I had wanted to, I could go over all items. So I could go in and I could look at anything I could stick in there, but I really just want my lake house. So I'm going to choose lake house. I'm going to hit paste. I'm going to go ahead and click on create. And that's going to start creating. This is all well and good. This is awesome. But now we want to go back and we want to load the data into our landed table. Again, all of these objects are being spun up inside of our environment. So as you can see, I've got my end-to-end, my data mart is starting to come up because I've got that highlighted. If I go over to my landed, I've got my landed objects are already there now. So I'm good to go. If I unselect everything, I can see everything inside of my environment. So great. So now let's go into our landed lakehouse, and we're going to be going and we're going to be getting data from here, or we're going to be getting data to load into here. But I don't want to do it directly inside the lakehouse. I'm going to go over to get data from source, and I'm going to do the exact same thing that I had done before. I'm going to choose new item. And now I've got all sorts of options on the side. Again, I could do a notebook. I could do a Spark job definition, dataflow gen 2, data pipeline, notebook, mirror data stuff. All these things I can go in and do. In this case, I want to make this as easy as possible. So I'm just going to click on a data pipeline. Okay. So data pipeline is going to pop up. Son of a nutcracker. What did I forget to do? I forgot to copy my name in. And remember, we are lazy. So we're going to be doing the get data adventure work. So I'm going to say copy, because I've already named it, right? I'm going to choose my data pipeline, and we're going to call the pipeline get data adventure works and hit create. All right. That's going to spin up, and now I'm going to be met with a screen that's going to give me some options on how to get data. All right. So I can, if you're like a data engineer, you can go in and like totally like geek out on building out your pipeline activities, or you could do practices or templates. But in this case, I'm going to be doing a copy data assist, because I just need to copy data on a regular basis from my internal space. So I'm going to say copy data assist. All right, and it's going to ask me now, where do I want to connect to the data? Now, I could go in and I could define the data and where I'm going to be getting it from and where I'm going to be moving it to. In this case, this is something that's already been defined inside of my OneLake Data Hub. This is a local, like this is an on-prem server. It's on my local host, AdventureWorks, like my SQL server that I stood up, honestly, at this point, like 9 years ago. Right, that's up and running on my workstation over there, the champ galore. It's up and maybe not 5 years ago, wherever it is. Right, so I'm gonna select my gateway connection. I'm gonna click on that. All right, so good. This is my data source, and so it's gonna have all the qualities, the principles involved in this. This is gonna come up. Come on, champ, be up and running. Oh, come on now. Killing me, Smalls. Okay, and now I'm connected over to my AdventureWorks dataset. I can go ahead and let me flip over so you can see this stuff. I can click on next, and it's going to ask me, what am I going to be bringing over? Now, I'm going to be bringing over some tables that are part of my model that I care about. This is not all of the tables that I'm using, so I'm going to be very specific. I'm really focusing around 2 fact tables, okay? So let me quick flip over here. I'm going to be looking at, I got a list here. It's fact internet sales and fact reseller sales. So fact internet sales and fact reseller sales. I'm not going to be bringing everything again, right? I just have these ones that I want. So now I also want dim account. Good, I got that one. Dim currency, yep. Dim customer, yep. Dim date. Now let's see what else. Dim department group, good. Dim employee, dim geography. Dim organization. Dim product category, dim product subcategory, dim promotion, dim reseller. Getting these guys. Dim sales reason, dim sales territory, dim scenario. And what else? And then I've got 2 report tables. And those are down in my views, right? Yep. Let me see here. Hold on 1 second here. Testing. Okay, yeah. Report sales. So I'm going to be bringing these over like this. I'm going to say, okay, next, I want to bring these over. Now it's going to choose, where do I want this to go, right? So I want this to be going into my landed data warehouse that's inside of my lakehouse. So I could see it. It's right here under recent, so it makes it really easy to find the things I'm looking for. If I needed to, I could use the OneLake Data Hub, or I could just search for the destination. But in this case, Super easy. Just click on the landed data set that I'm going to be creating. Now, where does that data go? I'm going to be loading this into new tables. And so it's going to be giving me the names of all these tables I'm going to be creating inside my solution. Now, note this. Look at this. It is going to by default give me schema of the underlying source underscore and then the table name. Now, I do not want to have that schema name in the front of it, so I'm going to remove that from each one of these. Cancel that. So I'm just going to delete that, and I'm just going to quick run down each one of these and do that same thing, making sure that I've got those all taken care of so I don't have this weird DBO at the front of the name. Now, they're going to have a mechanism to like make this easier for like maybe import schemas. I don't think that's the thing that does it, but this will come out in the future, so don't worry about this. But I'm just going to go through all of the tables that I had selected to bring over, and I'm just going to quickly strip out those dim reseller or that schema name at the front of it. Okay. Now, as you can see, you're seeing this. This is live development. I'm not messing around. This is actually what you'll go through. So as you're building this out, hopefully you're like able to follow along with this, and it's not like a horrible like task or chore to do so. I've got that in place. I've got these all ready. So I'm going to go over to, I'm going to be clicking on that next button. Okay. So I'm going to go to next. It's going to ask me, okay, hey, here's where let me zoom in so you can see this better. All right. So we're going to be going from the InventureWorks data set to the landed data. This is an Azure SQL database going into my lakehouse. So this puppy right here is all my on-prem, and we're going to be loading that over. Oh, gosh. That escape from like the zoom in. It wants to escape me out of the UI. Don't do that. And then I do have this option turned on where we start this data transfer immediately. So I'm just going to click on save and run there. And this puppy is now going to run, and it's going to create that pipeline that I'm going to be using on a regular basis. Now, if I wanted, I could go in and look at this. This is just JSON, so I can use the JSON formatter to go in and take a look at these things. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, okay. And now this is going to start running. So we see the notification in the upper window that it's starting, right? And oh, look at this. I've got all these pipelines queued up. These are starting to run. Look, I've got these loads that are starting. Oh, I've got ones that are succeeding. If I go into settings, it's hard because it's like this is so fast in loading this data, right? Like it's hard to flip over because every time it updates, it goes back to showing me how quickly, look, we're almost done here. Look at this, 19 items, are being loaded. It basically create a for each loop to run through the loads and allows for concurrent loads. Okay, so look at that. Now I've loaded all of my data out inside out there. Does it show me how fast it was? You run detail. Yeah, look at this. Let's zoom in. Right? So started 9:28 and 21 seconds, finished 9:28 and 59 seconds. So, 38 seconds to load those 20 tables out into the service. How awesome is that? If I want, I can go in, I could change this concurrency. Concurrency will say, like, okay, you could, like, with no setting, it's going to load as many, like, process pipelines as it can, like, grab and are available is what it'll run. If I want to be, like, mindful of my loads, let's say, for example, I've got some, like, big, larger loads inside of here that I want to be very specific to, like, to not have a whole, like, I don't want to, like, cause contention or issues, so I'm going to just do, like, 3 at a time, so that if I happen to have, like, 3 large tables loading, it's just doing those. It's not trying to cycle through other things, right? Like, so maybe I want to do something like that. You can create variables, you can do parameters, all that good stuff. But for the basics of the load path, like, we are done here. Okay, so I've got my end-to-end pipeline all created. So if I go back to my window, I can see I've got my Get AdventureWorks data pipeline all set up. It lands it into my landed data. Now, what I need to do is I need to take that landed data and I want to make that available inside my data mart. Now, in this case, everything I have there, I don't want to apply any transformations. I just want to keep it as is right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create shortcuts for my landed data. I'm going to make that available inside my data mart so that my data mart has that raw data as is. So because I'm going to be using that in the vast majority of our cases. Okay. So in that case, I'm going to select my data mart. I'm going to then go in and click on my end-to-end data set. All right. Now from here, you can see I've got nothing here today. I'm going to go ahead and click on the little ellipses, and then I'm going to choose this new shortcut. Okay, so I want a new shortcut to be used right here. So I'm going to click on ellipses. Come on now, new shortcut. And it's going to launch. It's going to ask, where do I want to get this data from? So there's all sorts of places I can get. I can shortcut data from AWS to Google to Dataverse to GCP, right? Like I can go grab that. In this case, it's what I've been using, right? So it's that end-to-end lakehouse is where I'm loading to, so I'm not going to go to from, right? I want it to, my landed data is where I'm going to be getting my data. So I'm going to select that and check on next. And now here's where I could create shortcuts on files, or I could do shortcuts on tables. And in this case, I want to do all of my tables. I want to shortcut over so that I can use these in my model. So I've got those up and running. I'm going to click on next, and it's going to say, okay, you know, these are what we're going to do. And I can even go in and I could even modify this if I want to, like, let's say add in a suffix. I don't know. If I wanted to change this name or something like that, I could go in and do that, or I could delete it here. I don't want to do that, so I'm just go ahead and click on create. It's going to run. And you're going to see that these shortcut wizards is launching. And that basically means there's an API that's going to call to like create all of these shortcuts inside my workspace automatically. Okay. And look, they're being generated right now. So you can start to see them coming through. The advantage we have there is one, for the simple life, it's just up and available. And look, now I have all of these things here. If I wanted to do something more complex though, I have the opportunity to call those same APIs. Like if I want to be pro code developer, I could call those APIs and script out the generation of shortcuts in, let's say, a whole bunch of different data lakehouses, and I want to maintain those, right? Like, so I could do that all real smart with DevOps. In this case, we're going to keep this stuff super simple, super easy. Make sure that these are available and for us to be able to do things within them. Here, I can even click on it, and you can see, if you look over, this little link right here, that shows you that this is a shortcutted table that has been brought over and made available. Okay, so boom, it's right there. I am in my Lakehouse experience. I could switch over to my SQL Analytics endpoint experience, and then I've got all of my tables right here that's inside my DBO schema, right? I could create some views, and in some cases, maybe I want to create some views, but in this case, I'm not going to for the purposes of this demo. Okay, so now I've got my data in place. If I go back out to my end-to-end, I've got my data mart, and my data mart has my SQL endpoint, right? So my data mart has my SQL Analytics endpoint and my semantic model for this end-to-end data mart space. Okay, so we've got everything all set up. We've brought the data in. We've got it up to our data mart layer. Now we're looking at our semantic model, right? So that's where we're at. We could say we're going to go into our semantic model, and we could leverage the data mart. We could use this semantic model that's inside of the data mart. We could totally do that. That's a thing that we could do. We could go into my SQL endpoint. I could head over to model, and I could define my model here, and then I could be done with that, right? So that's a possibility. But we're going to go a bit further, right? Because we have SQL Server on-prem that we had a model on top of that was running in great. Now we've taken that SQL Server that's on-prem and we've brought that data out into a lake house, right? We've built this in. Now we want the model that we had on SQL Server, we want to be running on our lakehouse, right? So this is a little more difficult, takes a little more time and energy to get all of that stuff together. And it's going to require the use of a third-party tool. A third-party tool is called Tabular Editor, and straight up, you should get the paid for version. So if you don't have it yourself, you're going to need the paid like enterprise version because you're going to be deploying models out into the Power BI service. It is the cost of doing business. If your boss or anyone else is giving you grief about doing this, like have them contact me on Twitter or X. I am not paid by the Tabular Editor organization at all, at least at the time of the recording of this video. Hey Daniel, you guys want to like throw some shekels my way? Like I will take you up on that. But I'm kidding. I am not paid by them, but this is what you need to do, and you need to have this tool in order to do this job. There's a free version. It is so difficult with the free. I mean, it's not impossible with the free version, but compared to the Tabular Editor 3, the paid version, it's so much easier on the paid version than it is the free version. Like, just do it, just get it. Like, you need to have this. All right, so let's head in. All right, so instead of starting here, what I want to do is I want to start with the model that I have inside of that's connected to SQL Server and that I'm using. So this is my enterprise model that I use all the time for all sorts of different things, right? I want to take this model that I know, love, and use to power my organization, and I want to bring that over to be working off of the lakehouse, right? Now, from within, if you have the tools installed, if you have Tabular Editor or Tabular Editor 3 installed, you'll see them show up on this External Tools tab in Power BI. Click on Tabular Editor, and up will pop like the existing definition that you have in place on that model, okay? So you've got this all set up right here. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going into the Power BI service, right? We're going to be going over to that end-to-end workspace. And oopsies, I left my demo one that I was playing with out there, so get rid of that guy. We're going to be getting two pieces of information to make this work. First things first, we're going to be going under workspace settings, and then we're going to go to the license info, and we're going to click on and copy this connection link over into a notepad, okay? Now, this is called the XMLA endpoint. I think if I hit text, XMLA endpoint, that Microsoft has like come along and renamed to the connection link, and they don't even mention XMLA endpoint anywhere here for settings. So super nice. That's not confusing at all, but hey, we're not all Microsoft, so that we don't get to do that. So we get that. And the other thing we're going to need to do is inside our end-to-end database, inside that SQL endpoint, there's a cog up here. When we click on it, we get a SQL connection string over here, okay? So this is what we're going to need to have in order to make the direct lake work, okay? So this is the connection to the direct lake is going to be this string here. The connection to the analysis service, basically the analysis services, where we're going to be deploying that was the first, deploying our semantic model onto was the first link that we did, okay? So now that I've got those together, and I have my model up, right? I've got my model up. I am going to go ahead and I'm going to launch a new Tabular Editor because I want to create a new model that I'm just going to be doing a whole bunch of copying and pasting into, okay? So, first things first, we're going to go to File, Create New Model. Now, we're going to be asked a whole bunch of questions in here. Like what's the model name, what compatibility level, should we be using Direct Lake, and use workspace database recommended. Now I gotta click on Direct Lake so that we get that set up, but we're definitely going to be using use a workspace database for where we actually build and manage this code, because you need a tabular engine someplace, an analysis services engine someplace, in order for this code to run and compile against all the good stuff. That is inside of Power BI, and you just don't see it. Okay, so if you're thinking I don't need to do that, I work in Power BI. Yeah, this is something we're starting to be in that pro code space. You're going to do this, okay? But I'm going to walk you through it. It's going to be okay. All right, so I've got direct link selected. I'm going to click on OK. Here is where it's going to ask me for that XMLA endpoint. That last thing that I copied it into my queue, I did paste it, but I copied it last for a reason, because I'm going to now paste that in and use that on my build process. Okay, so I say OK. It's going to sign in. And okay. Oh, it's going to sign in. Come on. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, you're killing me, Microsoft. There we go. All right. So we're going to be creating a new workspace for development. It's just going to give you a default like database name. Look at that. It's like the date and the timestamp that we're creating it, right? So like, okay, I'm going to create that. And it's just going to create this like temporary landing space for me to operate in, okay? Come on now. All right, so that's there. First things first, and the reason why we start off this way is we want to make sure that our direct link connections are clean and it's cleanly defined in the model. Okay, so I'm going to now go to my tables and right click and choose import tables. Now, this is like a legacy navigation where like we used to import everything. This is must be defined tables. It should probably be renamed. Okay, so I'm going to right click on import tables, and I could just say next. And if you did that check mark at the beginning where you're using a direct link connection, you'll see this. This will be your only option. Okay, I'm going to say next. Here is that other URL string that you're supposed to have, or for that SQL Server. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to paste that right in. I'm going to click on Browse Server. It's going to ask me to authenticate. I'm going to authenticate. I'm going to choose that end-to-end database that I've defined, okay? So, yeah, click OK. It's going to run. And now I'm going to go in and I'm going to select the tables that I want to have access, that I want to add into my model. Now, there are 3 fields in here that I cannot have come through because there's some data types that are supported inside of a lakehouse that aren't supported in semantic models, okay? Now, I happen to have known this. I've gone through this a couple times. You can delete it. You can, remove those fields after the fact, but we're just going to do this for this because I know that this is something that's inside my data set. So I'm going to go to my dim employee. And I'm going to scroll way to the end because I happen to know it's the last photo. So I'm going to remove that one. Then I'm going to go to my dim product. I know it's not my last photo. It's somewhere in the middle. I'm going to find my product image field. Come on now. SQL binary right there. Large photo there. And then I think it is sales territory. Yes, sales territory also has that as well. So I'm going to remove those from my table definitions and click on next, and then click on finish. That's going to conform the import. But I don't want this to be my an actual import. So I'm going to make sure that I did this all right. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to select the actual partition because it's within the partition itself where we define what the mode is. So in this case, it's a direct link connection right inside of my mode. Now I could go through and I could test out all of these that they're still in direct link, but I know that they are because if you do this once, you'll have seen it over and over again. All right. Now that that's in place, I am going to I'm going to go over, and this is where we start to copy from our previous model. So I'm going to go back to that model. That's my like good to go thing, and I'm going to start to bring in information in a specific order. First, I'm going to start with my relationships. I'm going to just go and I'm going to select all my relationships. I'm going to copy them and I'm going to come over and I'm going to paste them in. Now, something to note, look at all these red X's and stuff. There's a whole bunch of relationships that I didn't bring over because there were like hidden tables in my model that like I just didn't need. So I'm not bringing them through. And so I'm just going to go through and I'm going to highlight a whole bunch of these and just get rid of them, making sure that I don't leave any none fields in there. So if I see any, right, I'm going to remove them. Now I can always come back along after the fact and add them back in if I found I missed something. But like I've got my relationships there and this was just a copy paste activity, right? So super fast, right? I also want to make sure that I go in and I add in all of my measures, right? So I'm going to hop back over and I'm going to find all of the tables and I'm going to make sure I bring in the measures. Now I've got two fact tables, my fact internet sales. So I'm going to head over to internet sales and copy that. I'm going to go down to my fact internet sales. I'm going to paste that in. So I've got my measures in place there. So that's good. I like that. And then I'm going to go over to my reseller sales. I'm going to choose my measures there, copy that, pop over on my factory reseller sales, paste that in as well. Oh no, I've got an issue inside of my measure here. Okay, so this measure is actually, so this is referring to an object that I didn't have inside of my model. This is my order date type. This is I know this from my model. This is this is a value that is used on an import table that's just like kind of like hard coded and built. I'm gonna be hiding this so that we don't have to really worry about that. So I'm just gonna like I don't know, basically comment that out. Is it? I don't know. You know what? I'm just gonna delete it out of there so I don't have to worry about that one. So that I can just load this up. Now I do want to bring over a couple other things. Inside this model, I've got a time intelligence uh, calc group. I'm going to paste that in to take advantage of that. And well, I do have it. While I have an order date type group I can bring over, this is based upon that order date type that's an import. And just a big reminder, you with direct link models, you can't have two different types of imports on them as of today. So if it's direct link, it has to all be direct link. So I want to add this in. That's going to be something I'm going to have to redefine. I'm going to have to define inside of my my lakehouse. Then I can add that in. I'm not going to do that right now, just to make this easier. Okay. But now I've got all of my joins. I've got all my tables. I've got all my measures in. So I'm pretty good for this deployment. Okay. Now I'm going to go to model. I'm going to choose deploy. And I'm going to choose where that's being deployed to. So here again is my connection, that my analysis services connection or my XML8 group. I'm going to put that in there. Click on next. And here's where I'm going to be deploying it out into a specific model. Now, on your initial deployment, I would really recommend you make sure you're doing a clean deployment. So, like, I don't have anyone here. Now, I want to go back to my end-to-end workspace, go to my task flow, because I've got my name already defined what that's going to be. So it's going to be end-to-end underscore, and then what is the subdomain or model breakout? In this case, there isn't a model breakout, so this could be my master model. So I'm just going to call it end-to-end master. Then click next, and then click, these are deployment options. We're going to click on next through that. And then we're going to click on deploy. This is now going to take everything and it's going to deploy it on the server. Aha. I forgot one thing. Discourage implicit measures must be set to true in order to change or create any calculation groups. All right. So, okay, cool. Good call. Let's go and take a look at where we do that. So inside of our model, we're going to be looking at our definitions in the models. And this is always down kind of near the bottom under options, and there's a setting right in here called discourage implicit measures, right? We're actually going to turn this one to true. We're going to then do the deployment again. All right, so then model, deploy, next. Now, it's interesting. If it fails deployment, it'll like keep the name that you tried to deploy to, but won't have deployed it. So you have to like do a space and back to hit for the next to become active. We'll say next, and then we'll say deploy. Now note, I didn't copy the roles over because I don't want to maintain the roles. So I could have brought the roles over. I could bring all the security stuff over. All those things I could do, but I didn't. But now I'm done. I've done it. I've deployed my model out into the service. So if I come back in, I can go down and I could see my end-to-end master is right here. But you're saying, hey, Chris, it's not, there's nothing here. I want to add that. Oh, great. This is where we go to the paperclip on our semantic model and we choose what is going to be going in there. So I select my end-to-end master. I hit select. It's now available. And now I've completed the entire journey from getting data to landing data to transforming data to data mart semantic model. Hang on a second here. While I'm almost done, I haven't finished the report side. So I'm going to fire up Power BI Desktop and I'm going to connect to this model and let's see if this actually works. Ooh, hold on to your hats. Let's see here. So we're going to say blank report. Let's get data from our data hub from our Power BI semantic models. Fingers crossed. Here's my end-to-end master. We are live. You know, what's that whole like, let's do it live, you know, commission. So we're looking good. I see all of my tables. I go into my factory seller sales. I see all of my measures in there. Right, so, all right, I've got all my measures are right in here. So that is a good thing. Let me pop over. So all of that is good to go. So I'm excited about that. So let's try reseller sales amount. Do we get a value? Come on. This is the first. Oh, look at that. Son of a. That's fantastic. Come on, date. Dim date. Fiscal year. Booyakasha. All right. So now we've got this. Call this file. Save as Power BI reports. End to end. Hit save. Now we're going to publish this out into our. Oh, look at that. That's a new. Huh. End to end. Hit select. Let's go start publishing out. It's always new when you run into new stuff when you're doing a video. Love that, you know. So I say, got it. Now when I head back in, I think I might have to hit. Oh, I didn't even have to hit refresh. End to end. Oh, can't see it. End to end is out there. So now I can go ahead and I can actually like select that as part of my reports. So now I have a full story from beginning all the way to the end. I've got this up and running. And technically, I could even test switching over my dark Power BI model over to my new semantic model. But you know what? I'm not going to press my luck on any of this stuff because I've taken a number of runs at this recording. So hopefully this worked out. All right. There you have it. We've gone from an on-prem SQL Server with a semantic model. We've migrated all of that data out into a lakehouse, a landed lakehouse. We did shortcuts to bring that data into a data mart that we're going to be consuming our information from. We've created a semantic model that we're now going to be managing. And, you know, it's really just a rebuilding of a model that was on-prem, right? So it's the same model, right? You know, we're just using a direct lake connection. And then we've put a report on top of it. All right. So we've gone end to end in this build out. We are really ready to go. next videos, we're going to be doing more of these end-to-ends. We'll be talking about like how we add in different things, how we land data, how we augment our flows throughout this entire process. If you have anything specific that you want to see as to how we do something in there, leave a comment down below. Hopefully you're getting really good value out of this, because this is a longer video. I can't even tell you how long it is, because the current recording little bit that I'm doing is at 20 minutes, so you're probably at an hour or whatever. But thank you guys so much for hanging in. Hopefully you got value from it. Make sure you like, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff. You have a great day. Peace. Baker Tilly Digital combines strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.